Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. Tim Walz is out there trying to gain the people's attention. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Recently, Mr. Walz spoke at a commencement ceremony. It was a law school commencement ceremony, and this was at the University of Minnesota. So it's the state that he represents. And now, I heard that Tim Walz will be coming to Madison, Wisconsin, to speak at an event, and this is going to be in September. So, Tim Walz speaking at a commencement ceremony in Minnesota, I can understand. He's within his own state. But now he's going to cross state lines to come to Wisconsin to speak at an event here. So when I look at this, I clearly understand that this is an effort to seek more attention. So Tim Walz, he's trying to seek more attention. I think he has hunger for more attention and power as a politician. And I think this may be the result of his loss in November 2024. I mean, remember, Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, he ran as Kamala Harris's running mate. He ran for vice president. Kamala Harris was running for president. And in November 2024, he did not win. The presidential ticket from the Democrat Party lost. Tim Walz did not become vice president. And so now I think what Mr. Walz is trying to do is gain more attention, more and more attention. So I think he's got that hunger for attention and power. Now, a lot of people wonder if Tim Walz is considering running for president in 2028. I don't know. I mean, he's free. If he wants to run, he can run. If he thinks that he's going to run for president in 2028, he can do that. But I don't think he's going to be able to win. Honestly, I think he is not even going to be able to win the Democrat Party nomination. That is my understanding. That is my assessment. You want to call it a prediction? You can call it a prediction. Because I think even the Democrats understand that he's just a bad candidate. I mean, as a governor, undoubtedly he's a failure. There's no doubt about that. There's no question. When you look at Tim Walz, and when you try to analyze his record as the governor of Minnesota, he's clearly a failure. And most people know that. Even a lot of Democrats, I think, they may not admit, but they know that. Deep within their heart, a lot of Democrats know that he's a failure. Tim Walz, he's a failure as a governor. I mean, I'm just going to give you one example. Tim Walz failed to take action during the riots that took place a few years ago. Remember the riots? And we saw the police precinct burning in Minnesota. Remember that? Where was Tim Walz? What action did Tim Walz take at the time? And now Mr. Walz is going around speaking and trying to gain more attention. And he's got this scheduled visit coming up in September. He's coming to Wisconsin to speak to an audience here in Wisconsin. For what? He represents Minnesota. He doesn't represent Wisconsin. Why is he coming to Wisconsin? Oh, I think I know. If he is thinking that he's going to get the Democrat Party nomination in 2028, that he's going to be running for president, he's probably looking at Wisconsin and thinking, oh, that's a battleground state. That's a battleground state. And so he's probably starting early, trying to spend time in Wisconsin. So that may be the reason. You can tell me as you're listening to me. You can let me know if you think I'm wrong. You can email me and say, Toss, if you're wrong. You can go to my website, tossifandam.net. You can send me a message through my website, and if you think I'm wrong, you can let me know that. And whatever argument you have, you can share with me. But I think I'm correct. I don't think I'm wrong. I think Tim Walz has dreams and ambitions. I think Tim Walz wants to run for president in 2028, and he's thinking, oh, next door neighbor, Wisconsin, battleground state. Donald Trump won Wisconsin in 2024. And, well, a lot of Democrats thought that Kamala will win Wisconsin in 2024. That did not happen. So I think Tim Walz is trying to be proactive. And that's why he's probably looking at Wisconsin and seeing this as an important battleground state that it is, and is thinking that he should try to become a bit more popular in Wisconsin. Well, let me tell you, he's not popular in Wisconsin at all. There's a reason why the voters of Wisconsin rejected the Kamala Harris and the Tim Walz presidential ticket. There's a reason for that. The people of Wisconsin rejected the Harris-Walz ticket. And no matter how much Tim Walz tries, I don't think he's going to become popular here in Wisconsin, here in the Badger State, America's Dairyland. And so, I mean, he can try. I don't think he's going to be successful in gaining any popularity in Wisconsin. And so, in terms of those who are listening to Tim Walz, I'm wondering if people think that there's something to learn from him. Is there anything you can learn from Tim Walz? I'm asking the question. You can answer. You can share with me your thoughts. You can email me. My email address is tossif@tossifandam.net. Let me know. I mean, I'm sure that he can share some valuable knowledge. He is the governor of a state. So maybe he can share some knowledge about what it feels like to be a governor. He can talk about his goals and priorities. But then again, when you look at his record is a poor one. So there is not much to learn from Tim Walz. He can certainly talk about his experience running as Kamala's running mate. He can talk about how he was first notified about the offer. I have no idea what happened behind the scenes. Did he get a phone call? Somebody informing him that he has been selected to be Kamala Harris's running mate? Did he get an email? Did somebody come to him in person and say, Mr. Walz, you've been selected to be the running mate? I don't know. Maybe he can talk about his experience. He can talk about his excitement, the joy that he must have felt upon learning that he's going to be the running mate. He's going to be on a presidential ticket as the VP candidate. Tim Walz can talk about entering the race and running and traveling and meeting more people. He can talk about speaking in front of different groups. He can talk about rallies. Tim Walz can also talk about how he really never connected with the voters. Yeah, he never really connected because obviously he did not win. So he never really connected with the voters. So he can probably talk about that. Maybe Tim Walz can talk about how out of touch he was and still is. Maybe Tim Walz can talk about not understanding the needs of the American people. Maybe that's something he can share when he's speaking in front of an audience. He can talk about the fact that he is out of touch. He doesn't understand the needs of the American people. And Tim Walz can highlight the fact that his party, the Democrat Party, has adopted extreme policies and not the common sense policies that the American people demand. Is that something Tim Walz can talk about? Maybe. Maybe Governor Walz can talk about how he felt on election night when people cheered for Donald Trump and when the American people rejected the Democrat Party. The American people voted for Donald Trump, and the American people voted for Republicans and put the Republicans in charge in the Senate. The American people voted for Republican members of Congress and candidates, and that's why the Republicans still hold on to the House majority. So maybe Tim Walz can talk about that, talk about his reaction and how he felt upon learning that he did not win, that Kamala Harris did not win, that the Democrats lost the majority in the Senate. Maybe Tim Walz can share with the listeners how he felt when he found out that he and Kamala Harris lost the election. Maybe Tim Walz can talk about what it feels like to lose on such a massive scale. Maybe Tim Walz can talk about his failed campaign strategies. Now, let me remind you, and I'm sure a lot of you remember this, Tim Walz, he played football video game as a way to reach young male voters. Remember that? Tim Walz and AOC, they were doing a live stream playing football video game as a way to reach young male voters. That was big news when it happened. I think it was back in October, if I'm not mistaken. Now, how did that go? How did that work out? Did that result in massive vote gains from the male population of the United States? Was that a great strategy to play football video game as a way to reach male voters? I mean, who came up with that idea? I mean, that's a question that I still have. It's a question that's in my mind. Who came up with that idea? Who thought? Who conceived that idea that it would be a great strategy to reach young male voters? And did that make a huge difference in the election? We know the ultimate outcome, that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz lost. But did that strategy of playing football video game, did that really help? Did that make any difference? Now, video game, in my opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people out there may disagree with me. That's okay. I mean, we are a country where we can have our own opinions. We can share those opinions. We can disagree with each other. I mean, that's fine. If you disagree with me, I don't have a problem. But in my opinion, video game is a waste of time, especially when you've got a presidential race, when you've got a race to run. When a candidate is on the presidential ticket, whether you're the presidential candidate or the vice presidential candidate, it's the most important race of a person's lifetime, to be on the presidential ticket. So a presidential or a vice presidential candidate has a lot to do. Every minute, every second is valuable. And for a vice presidential candidate to play video game, and somebody thought that it's a great way to reach young male voters, wow. It's a complete waste of time. And I think Tim Walz might agree with that, because he obviously found out that it did not work. It did not work. And so looking back, I think if you ask Mr. Walz, he might agree. He might say, yeah, that was a bad idea. I don't know. He might think it was a good idea. Maybe if he's running again in 2028, if he's running for president, he might play video game again. Who knows? Maybe he thinks, that was a great strategy. Yeah, we didn't win, but I think that was still a great decision. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna repeat that in 2028. So I don't know. Let's wait and see what he decides to do. Obviously, we don't know if he's going to be running for president in 2028, but I think from his actions, it seems he might. Okay? So we'll have to wait and see if he's going to be playing video games again or not. Okay? But still, I wonder, who comes up with this idea? Who comes up with this idea of playing video game on a live stream to appeal to male voters? Let's talk a little bit more about this, okay? Does it mean that male voters are just spending time playing video games? If it's a strategy to reach male voters, young male voters, does it mean that young male voters, all they do is play video games? Is that what they do? What about all the young male voters who go to school and study, and when they come back home, they're spending time studying, doing research, learning, reading books? What about them? What about the young male voters who are in the workforce and they are going out every day and they are working hard? They are trying to build a career. They are earning paycheck. They are trying to make ends meet. They are trying to save money. They are trying to invest money. What about them? They're not playing video games. Well, let me tell you, during the Biden-Harris administration, the young male voters faced real hardship, as did many other people. So I'm not sure how many young male voters were busy playing video games. A lot of male voters did not have much time to relax. They did not have much time to engage in recreational activities. They did not have much time to just hang out and relax and just spend time. No, they were struggling. A lot of young male voters during the Biden-Harris administration were struggling because of Joe Biden's inflation. We call it Bidenflation. And we've seen how severely Bidenflation affected our economy and affected the young male voters. But you know what? Tim Walz was out of touch, and he's still out of touch. He really has not learned much from the massive election loss. And, I'm happy that Donald Trump won the election. I voted for Donald Trump. I'm happy that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz lost the election. And I think he would have been, if Tim Walz would have won, he would have been one of the worst vice presidents in American history. Perhaps worse than Kamala Harris. Although I must say that Kamala's record as the worst vice president is solid. So I mean, it's really hard to be worse as a vice president, worse than Kamala. So Kamala may be the worst, but Tim Walz would have been one of the worst. Okay? And so really, Tim Walz doesn't have a lot to share. He doesn't have much to share. There's not a whole lot to learn from him. And let me just tell you something that he said recently, which is unacceptable. During a recent speech at a commencement ceremony, Tim Walz, and this is the commencement ceremony I mentioned, the law school's commencement ceremony. During his speech, rather than spreading a positive message, rather than giving hope to the graduates, rather than saying things that are bright, that are uplifting, rather than saying things that would energize the graduates, the law school graduates, Tim Walz, during his speech, he compared ICE with Gestapo. ICE meaning Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He made that comparison. He compared Immigration and Customs Enforcement with Gestapo. That is what Tim Walz did during his speech at a commencement ceremony not too long ago in Minnesota. Is this the kind of speech a person is expecting to hear at a commencement ceremony? You know, ask yourself that question. When you go to a commencement ceremony as a graduate, or whether as a family member of a graduate, and you're listening to a commencement ceremony speech from the governor of that state, the governor of Minnesota, aren't you going to expect like good things, positive message? Because, you know, in an audience, there are conservatives, there are liberals, there are people who don't identify as a conservative or a liberal. They think they are independents. At a law school commencement ceremony, you're going to get an audience that is mixed, people with diverse viewpoints, and diversity is great. True diversity is not just diversity in terms of color of the skin or religion, but true diversity also means diversity in terms of viewpoints, political views. So during a law school commencement ceremony, when you look at all the students who are there, all the graduates, when you look at the parents and the guests, when you look at that big audience, it's a diverse audience. People from different backgrounds, people from different religious backgrounds, people with different skin color, they are all there. People who are conservatives, they are there. People who are liberals, they are there. And so your message has to be one that unites everyone. I mean, as a political figure, Tim Walz can have his political views, but a commencement ceremony is not a place where he should be pushing politics. Yes, I mean, you pick any governor as a commencement speaker. If it's a red state governor, it's a Republican governor, that governor will have Republican viewpoints, conservative viewpoints. If you are in a blue state and you're picking a blue state governor, that person will have, liberal viewpoints. But a commencement ceremony is not the place to push politics. No. Keep politics aside. Unite people. These graduates, they are going to go out into the world with their degrees, and they are going to meet people. They are going to build their social network, their professional network. They're going to learn a lot. I mean, just because you're graduating from law school, it's not the end of learning. The real learning takes place out in the world as you're working, as you're finding what organization you want to work for, private organization. Are you going to work for a government agency? Are you going to start your own practice? Are you going to pursue another degree? Getting a law, I know people get a law degree and then they may go and pursue some other degree. So these are individuals. A commencement ceremony is a celebration. It's a great place. It's a great time to celebrate, to look forward to a better future. And Tim Walz, instead of spreading a positive message, he talked about ICE, and he compared ICE with Gestapo. I mean, what does that tell you about Tim Walz, about this man? He's an elected official. He's the governor of a state, and he doesn't know what to say and where and when. A commencement ceremony is not the place for political rhetoric. I mean, as a political figure, I'm sure he goes to a lot of events where all he can talk is politics. Yeah, he can probably go to Democrat events in Minnesota and say, oh, Trump's bad, Trump's this, Trump's that, ICE is bad. I mean, he can do that. I'm sure that there are many opportunities for him to go to political events and spread his left-wing propaganda. But a commencement ceremony is not the place for that. So, Tim Walz, I mean, that's the kind of politician he is. And that may be one reason why Tim Walz lost. He doesn't know what the right message is for a particular venue, for a particular event. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they never really understood the pulse of the American people. They never really understood what the American people want. And that's the reason why they lost. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. There's a reason. I mean, the list of reasons is long, but this is one of the primary reasons that they never understood. What is it that the American people want? They were busy pushing their left-wing propaganda. They were busy spreading their left-wing ideology, when the American people, they were demanding common sense policies. They were demanding reason and logic. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, all that they did during the campaign, and you remember, it was not that long ago. It was just last year. They were busy spreading left-wing propaganda, and that's why the American people rejected Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And that's why they lost. And sadly, Tim Walz has not learned anything from that loss. ICE is something. Now, let's talk about ICE, because Tim Walz talked about ICE. ICE is something that the American people support. The American people support ICE and the ICE agents. And the ICE agents are doing great work. It is exactly what the American people want to see. Immigration and customs enforcement. They want to see enforcement of our nation's immigration laws. The American people, they want to see the illegal immigrants deported. And that is what the ICE agents are doing. They are working hard every day. They are putting their own lives at risk, and they are going out and catching the criminal aliens and making our communities safer. We, the American people, we support ICE and the work that ICE is doing. ICE is doing what they're supposed to do. And Tim Walz, being the governor of a state, at a commencement ceremony, he uses such offensive language when talking about ICE. And he's a governor. Why is Tim Walz so eager to talk about national issues? The American people made it very clear in November that they're rejecting Tim Walz for federal office. The office that he has, it's still a very big office. It's a very powerful office. I mean, being the governor of a state is a major responsibility. The American people made it very clear that they are rejecting Tim Walz for a federal office. So I think what he should be doing is focusing on the office that he has. That is, he is the governor of a state, so he should focus on the issues pertaining to his state. My friends, does Tim Walz realize that he lost? Does he realize that he lost? He was rejected by the American people. Anyway, reportedly he's going to be in Wisconsin, as I mentioned, in September, I think. What is he going to say when he delivers a speech here? I think at some point he's going to deliver a speech. Otherwise, why is he coming? I think he's going to be speaking at an event. What exactly is he going to say? Is he going to repeat the same stuff or similar stuff? Is his message going to be the same thing he talked about ICE during his commencement ceremony speech in Minnesota? Is he going to say, oh, Trump is bad? I mean, is that going to be the summary of his message that he's going to deliver in Wisconsin when he's here in September? That's the Democrat talking point. Oh, Trump's bad. Trump's bad. Anything that Donald Trump does, the Democrats oppose that. Is he going to be in Wisconsin to spread that same message, the same talking points? And if Tim Walz thinks that he's going to run for president in 2028, well, let me tell you, I think the Democrat voters, the Democrat Party voters will reject him. I don't think he's going to get the nomination. Am I making I don't like making predictions, all right? I usually don't. I do look at things, I look at races, I look at poll and data and statistics. I rely on my own observation. I rely on the information that I'm receiving from people who I talk to about different political matters and social issues, political issues. And I do try to draw conclusions. I share with people, as I've done in the past, what I think might happen. I have discussed in the past different Senate races and different different states and electoral college. And I've talked about, okay, which states might Donald Trump win in 2024. I've done all that. You can go back, especially during live streams that I have done on YouTube. I've discussed all that. But I usually try not to make predictions like, I believe this is going to happen. I don't do that. Because, even like, if there's a period of time, let's say you're making a prediction about something like an election that's a week from now, Okay? I know a week is not a lot of time in politics, but still a lot can happen. Based on the information you have right at this moment, you make a prediction about what's going to happen on election night, next week, or maybe let's say next month. But a lot can change in a week. A lot can change in a month. The political landscape is dynamic. Things are changing all the time. So you may make a prediction based on available information, but something may change. And then you either change your prediction, or what you predicted maybe you were going to be right, but no longer, because something has changed. So anyway, I try not to make predictions, but I can tell you one thing. I feel very, very confident that Tim Walz, if he runs for president in 2028, he is not going to get the Democrat Party nomination. I'm not saying that the Democrat Party has other great candidates. No, they don't. There's actually a crisis when you look at the Democrat Party and you look at all the names being mentioned as like possible candidates. I mean, look at some of the possible candidates, like Gavin Newsom. No. No. Another failure as a governor. Okay, look at J.B. Pritzker. Oh my God. J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Really one of the worst governors. Failed governor. And, I'm not judging him as a person. I've never met him, but just looking at the things he has done as the governor of Illinois, looking at his actions, looking at his policies, he is a failure as a governor. And then you look at Pete Buttigieg, whose name has been mentioned as a possible candidate in 2028. Not great. Not great. I mean, the way he managed the transportation department, very, very poorly. Very, very poorly. So, not a great candidate. Is Kamala Harris going to run again in 2028? I don't know. But she has already failed. She has already been rejected by the American people once. So, is she going to run again? I don't know. And then who else do you want to look at? Possible candidate. Who else? Kathy Hochul? No. 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 I mean, what she has done in New York, especially during the migrant surge, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, she supported spending American taxpayer dollars to provide services to illegal immigrants. Definitely not a great candidate for president. Definitely not. Okay, so who else? AOC? She's a socialist. She is a socialist, and the American people reject socialism. Not a great candidate. Bernie Sanders, another socialist, not a great candidate. So the Democrat Party really has a crisis. And how they are going to, the Democrat Party, how they are going to address this crisis, I don't know. But they don't have, the Democrat Party, they have a crisis. How they are going to address this, I don't know. They don't have great candidates. And so Tim Walz, even given all the other possible, poor choices, I think Tim Walz is still not going to get the nomination from the Democrat Party, okay? Now, it is being reported as a possibility. I don't know if this is going to be true. Rahm Emanuel reportedly is considering running. He hasn't said, yes, he's going to run. He hasn't said, no, he's not going to run. But he's considering running. Rahm Emanuel, okay? Everyone knows Rahm Emanuel's name. Illinois political figure, okay? Rahm Emanuel, if he decides to run for president as a Democrat, then I can tell you with quite certainty, I think, given the knowledge that I have about politics and history, if Rahm Emanuel runs for president as a Democrat, then Tim Walz is definitely not going to get the Democrat Party nomination. Because Rahm Emanuel will defeat Tim Walz in the primary. Okay? And once again, if you're listening to this and you completely disagree with me, you are free to express that disagreement, okay? If you think I'm getting this whole thing wrong, and if you think you know what the scenario is, and you disagree with my analysis, you let me know, okay? Once again, my website is tausifanam.net. And my email address is tausif@tausifanam.net. And you can also find me on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and on Truth Social. You can connect with me on social media and let me know, hey, Tausif, you're wrong. But I'm sharing with you what I think is right. In the Democrat Party, if we see in 2028, for the 2028 presidential cycle, if Rahm Emanuel decides to run, and if Tim Walz also decides to run, Tim Walz is not going to be able to defeat Rahm Emanuel. Okay? Am I making a prediction? You call it whatever you want. But if Rahm Emanuel runs, Tim Walz is not going to win. Okay? Not going to win that nomination. So Tim Walz, as I've said, he's completely out of touch. And so really somebody has to sit down and talk to Mr. Walz and explain to him that he should withdraw from trying to gain public attention, because he's not going to win in 2028. Okay? He won't win the Democrat Party nomination. Instead, you know what Tim Walz should do is just focus on Minnesota. He has an office right now. He's the governor of Minnesota. His record is poor as the governor, but maybe, maybe he'll realize his mistakes, and maybe he will embrace common sense and logic and reason, and maybe going forward he can do something positive for Minnesota. There's still time. He can probably decide, he can probably decide that he's going to give up pursuing the woke policies, and he's going to abandon left-wing ideology, and maybe he will embrace logic and reason and common sense and be a governor for the rest of his term. A good governor. Yeah, he should focus on Minnesota. He's coming to Wisconsin to speak here. He can do that if he wants to. Maybe he was invited, which is why he's coming. But really, he should spend his time in Minnesota, because that should be his focus. And after the massive loss in 2024, I think he's not going to win in 2028, not even the Democrat Party nomination. Forget winning the general election in 2028. But I'm saying he won't even win the Democrat Party nomination, so he should just focus on the job that's in front of him. Focus on the priorities of his state. Minnesota, because of the Democrats, Minnesota is not heading in the right direction. So maybe Tim Walz can take some bold action and have a common sense approach to governing the state. And that's what he should focus on. Okay? And those who wish to listen to Tim Walz and you want to hear what he has to say, I don't think there's anything to learn from Tim Walz. He has been a failure, given his record. Okay? And what he did during the commencement ceremony, comparing ICE with Gestapo, that is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. That is such an insult to the ICE officers, to the ICE agents. Those agents are working hard every single day. They're going out there. They're putting themselves in dangerous situations just to make sure they can remove the public safety threats from our neighborhoods, from our society. The ICE agents are putting their own lives at risk to keep the American people safe. We should be grateful. We should thank the ICE agents for the work that they're doing. And instead of being grateful, instead of thanking the ICE agents, Tim Walz compares them with Gestapo. Just think about it. So, my friends, I want to hear your thoughts. So please share with me any thoughts that you have. Share with me your viewpoints. I know those who are listening to me, all of you, not everyone's gonna agree with me. I get that. I understand that. And I believe, as I've said, diversity of viewpoints, it's important. If you don't agree with me, I still want to hear from you. I have an open mind. I'm not saying whatever I'm saying is absolutely correct and this is it. No, I'm willing to learn from you. I want to hear your viewpoints. Obviously, I've got my core principles. I've got my beliefs. I've got my strong political ideology. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I think you figured that out already. And many of you, you've been watching me, you've been listening to me for a very long time. You already know a lot about me. But those who are new, those who are listening to me for the first time, or watching the video version of this podcast episode for the first time, if you don't agree with me, share with me your thoughts. Okay? If you think I'm wrong, tell me why you think I'm wrong. I want to hear from you. Okay? As I always highlight, we can express our viewpoints. We can agree. We can disagree. We can have a debate. But we have to do so in a respectful manner. Okay? We can't engage in name calling. Can't insult. We have to treat each other with respect. I've probably said that a million times already. I've been podcasting for for years now, and I've been doing live streams on my YouTube channel since January of last year, so January of 2024. And frequently during my live streams, I'll tell people, hey, we have to treat each other with respect. Because what happens during the live streams, as I'm doing the live streams, during the live chat, which is open, people can come and share their thoughts. And most people are very nice. Even those who disagree with me, they express their viewpoints in a respectful manner. But then there are some who, they come and use really harsh language, and they're focusing on insulting and name calling, and it's wrong. We have to treat each other with respect, and this is so important. Because let's say I'm listening to someone and I disagree with that person, and I'm trying to argue with that person. I'm trying to debate, and I'm presenting my viewpoints, opposing viewpoints. If I do it in a decent manner, in a polite fashion, then the other person will listen to me. Maybe I will not be able to change his or her mind, but I can still present my talking points, my viewpoints, and the person will listen. And then maybe at the end they'll say, I don't agree with you, but at least that person has listened to me. But if somebody is presenting opposing viewpoints while engaging in name calling and insulting, then the other person won't even listen. So it's important to be respectful. It's important to be polite. It's important to be decent. And then you can express your disagreements. You can express your viewpoints. You can share your arguments, and that's fine. Okay, that's what makes this country great, that we have freedom of speech. So, my friends, share with me your thoughts and comments. Share with me your opinions. Go to my website, tausifanam.net. You can also email me. I'm going to repeat my email address. It is tausif@tausifanam.net. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter. And you can also find me on Truth Social. So I want to hear from you. Connect with me. And by the way, you can also sign up for my e-newsletter. The way you do that is you either go to my website, tausifanam.net, and if you're on the homepage, you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a box where you can enter your email address and submit that to sign up for my e-newsletter. And the other way you can do it is you can email me at tausif@tausifanam.net, and once you email me, I can sign you up for the e-newsletter. Okay, so thank you so very much once again, my friends. I want to hear from you. Thank you for continuing to listen to my podcast. I very much appreciate that. If you like the content of an episode, please share that with your friends, family members, and your neighbors. You may be listening to the audio-only version. You may be watching the video version of the podcast episode. Whatever it is, please share it. Okay, share it on your social media pages. Share it by email, or just ask your friends and family members and neighbors to just check out my podcast, Explore and Engage with Anam. So thank you. I would appreciate if you help me spread my message by sharing the link, by sharing the information about this podcast. So thank you so very much once again. And I'm going to be back again soon with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam.